everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. Today, we've got a very interesting guest who started out at NASA and had a health challenge and now wound up in the healthcare space. What I love about what you're going to hear is he talks about things that don't work and how we don't give up, but we keep finding the right practitioner who knows how to uncover exactly what's going on. So go ahead and take a quick break. Listen to our sponsors. We are going to be right back with today's guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? And we are back from our commercial break. I am Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. And I have to tell you, I'm so intrigued about our new guest because he went from NASA engineer to the healthcare space. Welcome, Greg Lee, to the podcast.
Hey, Dr. Cindy, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Let's just jump right in. How do you do that? How do you go from NASA to healthcare?
Well, it was kind of not a really planned kind of move. It was more I got IBS and no one could figure it out. The doctor was just like, here, take the medication. It didn't work. And, I was started having like really bad gut attacks at work. And then it was just like, I'm screwed. No one's figured me out. And I thought I'd have to just give up. And then a colleague of mine said, why don't you try acupuncture? And I had this crazy uncle. He used to work for what used to be the CIA. And he used to take bees and sting himself in his arthritis. And I'm like, you are nuts, man. But I'm now with my own issue. I'm like, maybe you weren't so nuts, So I didn't do the bee stinging thing. I just went to the acupuncture.
Okay. Isn't that interesting? And yet NASA couldn't figure it out, huh? They didn't have the resources for you to help with your health care.
Well, yeah. Well, they're about space. They're not about health care so much. So, yeah,
Okay. Although I don't know, I there might be a connection somehow. It's interesting, and I can relate. So I'm going to date myself a little bit. This is how old I am. I walked through a bout of IBS too. We used to call it spastic colon.
Ah, that was after my time.
Okay. Well, okay. So so I am dating myself. We rename things, I think, in medicine as we discover more things. So let's dive into a little bit of that health journey. So you couldn't get help. right? You couldn't find the right place.
Nope.
And what happened to you in your own space then, like changing careers from a place where you're doing one thing, you have your own health challenge, and now you're really helping, hundreds, if not thousands of other people, throughout the course of a year?
Well, I freaked out basically. I got insomnia and anxiety attacks, and it was just like at the lowest point of my life until I found the acupuncturist, and she's like, "Well, what are you eating?" It's like in really inflammatory foods and processed stuff and pizza.
Wait a minute, Greg, we can't be eating pizza. Pizza isn't good for us.
Well, if we have the gluten-free cauliflower crust with the fake cheese, actually the fake cheese is actually tasting much better these days.
I know, that's what I do. So I know, I get it. Yeah, it's very interesting. So how long was your journey from, discovering that there were symptoms that made you feel real low to actually accomplishing good health?
Well, it probably took about 6 to 9 months to really go through the whole illness, struggling with symptoms, looking for solutions, and then finally finding help with the acupuncturist. And within about 3 or 4 months, most of my symptoms got better after working with her, taking remedies, getting treatments, changed my diet, all those healthy things we know now so.
Right. And it's definitely a lifestyle change. There's no doubt about it. And any episodes of the IBS return after you made the changes?
So a year later, they started to come back, and I was freaking out because it was like burnout. And most people who've gone through burnout, they're like, I never want to go through that again. And for me, it was just like, okay, I got to make a change because part of it was some of the projects I was working on. I was working as a manager in a robotics lab. And we were actually having communications with astronauts in orbit, controlling robots in our lab. But that happens at 3:00 in the morning, and you have to prepare for the experiment, and then you have to analyze the data after the experiment. So you're up 24 hours doing this stuff, and doing that, took a toll on me. So I needed to make a change.
Absolutely. And for those of you that aren't watching, Greg is sporting a shirt that says the Lyme Research Healing Center. Let's talk about that, Greg. Tell me about the center and the work that you're doing.
So after I graduated acupuncture school, being kind of like a geeky engineer, I thought I want to really tackle the most hardest problems and things like that. So I started with chronic pain patients, and they were really actually not that difficult to deal with until I met a subset that dealt with fibromyalgia. And these patients were, cold weather, rain would set them off, diet would set them off. So okay, I know what to do with diet. I did. Change your diet. But they were somewhat resistant to making these changes. And a subset of the fibromyalgia patients actually came in and says, hey, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. And I was like, I don't know much about that. This is 28 years ago. And so I was looking at, okay, this is a spirochete. There's not really much about natural remedies for this because I'd studied Chinese herbs. But in China, they did a lot with other spirochete diseases like leptospirosis and found what helped those patients get better. So I just started taking those remedies and giving those to the Lyme patients. And they're like, hey, my joint pain's better. Hey, my brain works. Hey, I got more energy. And it's like, okay, great. And then started going to the conferences, and, I was kind of like the redheaded stepchild. So most of them were like, what kind of doctor are you? I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
So
you could put in a box pretty quickly, don't you? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then labeled and duct taped all over.
And it's okay as long as we keep doing good work, right? It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Lyme because I do think it's a very misunderstood disease. And, I practice here in the Midwest in Chicago, and there is absolutely an incidence of Lyme disease that I think we're ignoring here, even though we're not necessarily, in the town that gets known for this. Let's share with everybody a little bit about what triggers you when a patient comes in terms of the whole myriad of symptoms or the exposure that makes you start to think they could have been exposed to Lyme disease and the co-infections.
They've been to at least 8 specialists.
Okay.
And no one's figured them out. And one guy, he came in He went, I'm about an hour from the top medical institution in the US, and he'd been to that institution 37 times over a decade.
Wow.
And he kept getting worse and worse and little better, worse, multiple diagnosis, multiple medications, nothing was working. He got to the point where, because he's the head of his business, and he says, I can't even add two numbers in my head. And I normally get up at 5 a.m. I can't get up before 11 a.m. because I'm so fatigued, and nothing was working. And he says, he told his wife, I don't want to do this anymore, meaning I don't want to go to treatment anymore. I don't do anything. And she goes like, well, let's try this one more place I found over here called the Lyme Research and Healing Center. And so what made the difference in him is that we do something called an advanced scan, where we use this electrical frequency scan of the body to look for over 1,000 different infections, toxins, inflammatory compounds, 100 regions of the brain, neurotransmitters. We look at functional medicine issues, Chinese medicine. We look at genetic mutations that may block detoxification. So many different issues that we can get a sense of in the scan, and then we can help pull back the covers and say, oh, these are the underlying factors that are causing your fatigue or your brain fog or your resistance to getting better.
So, Greg, let's talk a little bit deeper then in terms of some of the things that you find. Are there any commonalities when you talk about different infections and the uncovering, right? The unveiling of what the underlying conditions are? Are there any things that are typically more often common than not?
One of the most common things we see over and over again is mold toxicity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From, water damaged buildings or cars or, the one woman, she had her dog chew the drain pipe, and the water, instead of going away from the house, went under the house and totally made the crawl space all moldy. And she started, her first symptom was panic attacks and anxiety.
Okay.
And then it was insomnia. And then, the drugs didn't help for some reason. And then we said, when we scanned her, we're like, you have really high mycotoxins. Do you have like an area where you've seen mold or anything like that? She goes, no. Until finally she gets her house tested. Says that dog did this, the whole thing. So
yeah,
a lot of it's out of our control. Who knows a dog was going to do that,
Right. Yeah, no, we see an enormous amount of that too. And I think you sort of hinted at a really interesting point that I think I would like to expand on. And that is, just because you have a condition doesn't also mean you have the typical symptom, right? Everybody has a different myriad of symptoms. So when people present to your clinic in order to get help, I want to ask this very carefully. Like, I don't want to believe like there's always a one size fits all, right? Like for every patient, but at the same time, how important is it to you to just, again, scan for that myriad of things that it could be, because their symptom might not be the textbook thing that we learned about for the underlying cause.
Yeah, well, that's why people come to us, because they've been through like the blood testing or even the off-label lab testing or functional medicine testing. Like we had one woman, she came in and whenever she would eat dairy, she would vomit and she would be out of commission for like 2 days. And this was happening for like over a decade. It kept getting worse and worse and worse, and until, she went to functional medicine provider, she went to naturopaths, went to acupuncturists, and they're like, oh, it's a rebellious stomach chi, and treating it for that, but it didn't really get better. So when we did the scan on her, we found, we said, hey, we're picking up a parasite that's found in the Caribbean, and it's probably been in you for about 20 years. And she her eyeballs went really wide, and she goes like, I got food poisoning on my honeymoon in Jamaica. And we looked at it. It was a strain of something called Giardia, which is a protozoa. And it was like, yeah, this is found in Jamaica. And she was like, oh my gosh. So we started treating her with natural remedies for clearing out protozoas like Giardia. But she also had this autoimmune reaction in her gut that was creating this huge reaction to the dairy and other foods. So we gave her immune regulating supplements, and also something we do is something called frequency specific microcurrent, which are electrical frequencies you can send into the intestines to say, hey, immune system, let's regulate you. Let's not overreact to stuff. And so we also did this. I learned this treatment from a physician here in Maryland called Solomon Acupuncture Allergy Treatment, where you actually are finding electrically active points on the ear that are directly related to like dairy reactions. So we have tester, and then we scan it, we treat the ear, and then about 4 months into treatment, she goes like, "Oh, I went out to eat, and I actually had dairy in what I ate, and the host didn't know the whatever it was, and I didn't die." And I'm like, "Woohoo! Yay!" And then I just saw her like a month and a half ago, and she goes like, "I'm eating cheese now, and I love it."
Yeah, it's very interesting. Can you talk a little bit what you believe the mechanism then to be to reset those allergies? Because I'm with you. I have my youngest son decided to, I can't remember how old he was, but he decided to, just start spooning out peanut butter, which I didn't normally keep in the house, but my ex-husband did. And he had a pretty quick, mild anaphylactic reaction that we pulled him out of. And then we desensitized him over time to where he can now eat peanut butter. Can you discuss a little bit with everybody? Because, 20, 30 years ago, we used to believe once you had an allergy, it was permanent, right? You were just stuck. Now we know that to not be true. How is it that we can actually reset people's immune systems?
A lot of it is based in healing the gut, because the reactivity, the histamine gets explodes out there, the tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin beta, all those, inflammatory cytokines. And then you have this cascade. It's almost like the inflammation just doesn't stop. The mast cells keep pumping it out. So we do like several layers of okay, what is the main factor? Is it a food allergen? Is it an infection? Is it a mold toxin? And then using different remedies to address not only the underlying main issue, but also how do you use things like things to calm down. There's like a chicken egg supplement that you use to help stop like the autoimmune reaction, allergic reaction. There's also peptides. We like KPV that stabilizes mast cells. Microcurrent has histamine lowering frequencies, has immune regulating frequencies you can use in treatments. So that really helps just calm down that autoimmune reactivity, and helps patients to hey, I'm not reacting like I did anymore. And then also the ear acupuncture. That's been, we get alpha gal allergy patients, and that's what we use it for a fair amount, and that really can help. It's not always a 100% home run, but using the other remedies and treatments. Also, we do a molecular hydrogen inhalation.
Okay.
That also calms mast cell activation and then helps reduce the histamine levels. And so it's kind of like the layers of getting them reduced so the system can, work more in a healthy way as opposed to the autoimmune way.
So I'm going to ask you the question I get in practice all the time from an acupuncture perspective. Doc, how many treatments am I going to need to get well? How do you answer that question for patients?
Well, then I say, how long you been sick? And kind of based on that, it'll take, based on what their, my experience in treating someone who's I've had Lyme from Lyme, Connecticut for 30 years. And how long does it take me to get better? And it depends on how many infections you have. It depends on how well you're detoxing, how you're get rid of inflammation. So we need to rebuild your energy. We need to help restore brain function, and we need to get your liver flushed out. And so it's going to take a while. It could be 6 months. It could be longer than that, depending on, are you going to drink alcohol and eat processed foods? Then it'll probably double your time if you do that. And then people are kind of what?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have to help ourselves, right? So the treatments work better when we're actually fueling them in a much better way. I want to run down this conversation about parasites. You mentioned the exposure and the gut health. There's a lot of social media, we'll call them influencers, if you will, that are saying that everybody should be on a parasite cleanse. No matter who you are, we all have parasites. Everybody should cleanse. I definitely have an opinion on that, but I'm curious about yours. A, do you think everybody needs it? B, do we all have parasites? And C, if we do, what is a really safe way, in your opinion, then to approach this, especially because a lot of people are not consulting a physician in order to get help?
Well, gee, that's a somewhat. How do I tread lightly on this question?
Listen, everybody's got an opinion. We'll take yours. So,
Okay, so yes, most people do have some sort of parasite, and it's really about the right treatment at the right time for the right issue at the right dose.
Okay.
So not everybody, because parasites, when you kill them off, they release a lot of toxins. They spike inflammation. You get people people with like brain parasites. It's like you got to be really careful because you can create a really serious neurological upset symptom flare up if you kill off them too much. So you got to really make sure the detox pathways are open out of the head, the lymphatic system, and go gentle. So that may be further down the road because they need to rebuild their energy to be able to even detox. So
Right.
It depends on, you got to understand like where they're at, what's the most important thing to treat, and then build them up to that place where like, okay, yeah, we can treat your parasites. And often it's not like a one walk dog. You got to kind of walk that dog multiple times.
No, I think that's fair, but I'm going to ask you then the challenging question. And I agree with you, right? And ideally, I would like for everybody to find the right practitioner that they trust and to be transparent with in order to walk through their health. But there's going to be people listening that won't do that, right? They're still going to buy into the social media. They're going to want the quick fix. Is there anything that people can start to do out there outside of diet, product wise, that in your opinion is very safe to start to dabble in if you don't have a practitioner to help you? Or should we just not be doing it at all?
For parasites?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the Chinese medicine answer to that.
Right.
Eat raw garlic.
Okay.
However, there are some people who have mutations in genes called like CBS, SEOX, where they can't process sulfur very well, so they won't do really well with garlic. And other people, it can produce big Herxheimer reactions, and they got to make sure they're able to detox those toxins. So I don't recommend people just automatically do ivermectin or things like that, but that's what I hear a lot about from patients. And when they ask, when they come in, and sometimes it works for them and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on what kind of parasite you're dealing with.
Sure.
Most of our patients have protozoa from their tick-borne infections. Others, we're exposed to roundworms or tapeworms. Like one guy, I knew I shouldn't have eaten that pork barbecue because I got the pork tapeworm, and it's just like, oh man. So it really depends. There isn't a one size fits all anti-parasite remedy because there's a lot of parasites out there, and there's different things that will treat them.
Agreed. So I love the garlic recommendation. I think that's great as long as it doesn't trigger any other side effects.
And do it with food.
And do it with food. Yeah. Do it with food. Give me some of your other favorite food recommendations just in general that lowers inflammation, that supports the immune system. Where can we start? Okay, so we've got people living on processed foods and fast food. Give me 4 or 5 of your favorites where at least we can start adding in some good things.
Well, ideally, you get the cleanest meats as possible. So, it may not always be in someone's budget, but, to be organic, very low hormones or additives and all the other stuff that they use now in raising animals. If people eat that, and then other remedies that could have things like turmeric in them, which is very anti-inflammatory. That's a good one. There's other herbs, ginger for gut issues, fennel for gut issues. For like neurological issues, we use actually an herb called frankincense. And we have multiple ways of having patients try that. And one way is to like burn the frankincense and waft the smoke and get that in. And that's very neuroprotective. It has a compound called boswellic acid, which helps lower inflammation. There's lots of just regular foods and herbs and spices that we recommend.
How do you feel, besides breathing in the frankincense, how do you feel about applying the oil to the bottom of the feet? Effective or non-effective?
Well, the bottom of the feet are really hard to get stuff through. So I recommend, if you're going to do feet, do the tops of the feet. You get
Okay.
better absorption. We actually use frankincense in combination with patients with something called DMSO, and that helps deliver it deeper through the tissues into the system. And we'll combine it with other essential oils, maybe like wintergreen or eucalyptus, depending on what the underlying condition is that we're trying to treat.
I just love that. Yeah, the oils are very interesting to me in terms of the effectiveness that they can have and the safety factor that they can also have. So I find that very fascinating. Where do you find, in your experience clinically, why acupuncture wouldn't work for somebody? Where are the blockages that people have energetically that it's not an effective treatment?
They have high levels of toxicity, and
Okay.
whether it be from their infections, from their heavy metals, mold, obviously, parasite toxins, and other reasons why is they're too inflamed, they're too, whether it be from long COVID, chronic inflammation, or just, diet, other lifestyle practices. What other reasons? Just diet, food. I had some patients that they drank, they were secret alcoholics, and they didn't do very well with acupuncture treatment until they told me later, I drink every day. And I'm like, well, okay. That's probably why you're not seeing the results I'm hoping for.
So sometimes is it fair for people who have said, I've tried acupuncture and it's been unsuccessful, to not give up on that particular treatment, but to do some of the work that you're talking about first and then come back to that modality so that it can be more effective? Is that a fair recommendation for people?
Sure, to definitely try other options, and you can, look at, but it's also the different people. It's not like acupuncture is like one kind of thing. There's multiple kinds of acupuncture. And so it really depends on finding someone who's really perhaps specialized in whatever condition the patient is dealing with, whether it be like me, many are infection, toxic, inflammatory conditions. Other people specialize in other kinds of issues.
Sure. Now, let's go back just for a moment. I want to go back to the whole concept of Lyme disease. Walk me through. I'm a patient, I'm in your office, and we've confirmed that I've been affected by Lyme or the co-infections. What would be a typical course of treatment, both in, oral therapies or adjunctive therapies that you might utilize?
So when we do the advanced scan, we look at what are the most important things to treat first on mitochondrial energy level, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, thyroid issues. So often most of our patients have energy deficits at some level. So they need some sort of remedies and or treatments to help rebuild their energy system. Because if you don't have energy, you can't detox, you can't fight infections, you can't, and I see too many of my colleagues, they don't assess that. And so they hammer them with these strong antimicrobials, and the patients suffer these big Herxheimer reactions, and they can't sustain treatment. So
do you also find that that's the reason they tend to stay on the antibiotics longer than supposedly necessary, because they're really not addressing the infection, since the energy deficit is what's in the way?
That's one of the issues. It could be also that, I just did a training on Marcons, where you have these sinus infections that are drug resistant, that we see patients that I've been in Lyme treatment for a decade, and I have these recurring sinus issues, and it's like, okay. And then we find, I think it was Dr. Shoemaker found drug resistant Marcons in his patients 2 weeks after antibiotics. So many of these patients have been on months, years, and can have these resistant infections that block them clearing Lyme and other co-infections.
So I think it's really important, and I'm going to just sum this up hopefully nicely before we take a commercial break. And that is, whenever you're suffering from any symptoms, it almost doesn't matter what it is, but they're never going away. And whatever treatment you have constantly tried, whether it's a repeat or a new one, that should be a sign that we're not getting to the underlying root cause of what's inhibiting us from getting well. So Greg Lee, this is awesome, right? Because it points us to really looking at the roots underneath everything and not just accepting the fact that we should just try medication after medication with the same result of not getting well. And I just love this. We are going to take a quick commercial break. We are going to be right back with Greg Lee, and then we're going to have some fun. We're going to see what kind of answers you have to some rapid fire questions. You up for that, Greg?
Let's go for it.
All right, commercial break. Don't leave us. We will be right back with the Positively Altered podcast. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. We are back. I am Dr. Cindy. This is the Positively Altered podcast. I am with my guest, Greg Lee. Greg,
Hey.
what is one place on earth you've never been you'd love to go visit?
New Zealand. I'd love to go there.
Well, that's a long plane ride, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's what we have planes for. And
Absolutely. I'm hoping you're going to fly first class, so it's comfortable.
we'll try.
First class seat for you. Okay. What is your biggest guilty pleasure?
I like Netflix.
Okay. Are you the trashy kind of fiction guy? Are you the documentary guy? What are you going to lean toward?
Well, I'm like kind of the geeky science fiction, the apocalyptic end of the world and how people survive, stuff like that. That's where I am.
Okay. Excellent. Any series we should check out in particular?
Well, I recently watched, which one did I watch? That would fit in that genre. I don't know. That's kind of a left field question. It's like, I'm not thinking that.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not sure mine fits yours, but we just started to watch The Hunting. Have you seen The Hunting?
No, I haven't seen The Hunting.
So that's a series, not quite apocalyptic, but that's a series where they have taken murderers and where the whole world thought that we executed them. They actually put them in this giant pit to do experiments on them. And then, of course, somebody blew up the pit, and now all of the mass criminals have escaped into the world, and they're, destroying everybody and need to be fixed. So
this isn't a reality show, right?
Oh, total reality. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. What is the weirdest food combination you like to eat?
Weirdest food combination would be, I really like chocolate and with mango and pineapple.
Ooh, okay. Some people come up with some really weird stuff. That doesn't sound so terrible.
Oh, well, I'll try harder on the tryable things.
Okay. Well, no, you don't have to. I mean, if that's your weirdest combo, then you keep it.
Yeah.
We don't want to change it. Okay. You can only have 3 apps on your phone for the rest of your life. What 3 apps do you keep?
It would be Claude and probably Gemini.
Okay.
And then Netflix.
And Netflix. Fair enough. That's a good one. If you could create a new holiday, what would it be? What would we celebrate?
Lyme Healing Complete Healing Day.
I love that. All right. What day of the year are we picking for that?
Well, let's see. I think May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, so let's make it May 4th.
May 4th. All right. We are starting a calendar here of new holidays, Greg. So May 4th is going to be We Fix Lyme Healing Awareness something Lyme Day.
Complete Lyme Healing Day.
There we go. Complete Lyme Healing Day. You definitely said it more eloquently than I did. And lastly, Greg, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Oh, I love your energy and all the rapid fire questions and the surprise people popping in and all sorts of, and also being able to share how, people who haven't been able to have been diagnosed, how they can find help, hopefully with people who have advanced scanning methods, and then putting together customized remedies and treatments that can help them get better more quickly because they're really addressing the underlying issues, not just an outer layer of them.
I love that. All right. You have a gift for our audience that you told me you would like to share. So let's find out what that is and then how the audience can find you and reach you and follow you.
So what I'm going to do is put together a video on what helps patients that don't know what's going on. They're stuck in uncertainty or their tests are normal. And what has helped those patients to find what's going on underneath their confusing symptoms or their doctor's confusion, and what remedies and treatments have created the biggest improvements, what have been the game changers in those patients. And I'll put that together in a video under my website, lymeresearchcenter.com/positively in all caps.
Love that. We will make sure that's in the show notes and it's available. And if people want to follow you, can they find you on LinkedIn and any other social media outlets?
Yep. Lyme Research Center, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
All the usual suspects.
Yep.
I love that. All right, everybody. I have to tell you, Greg, this has been an absolute treat. I think Lyme is very ignored and not commonly addressed. And I love that we touched on a variety of different subjects. So thank you as well. By the way, for those of you that are wondering what the surprise guest was, we actually will edit that out. We had somebody show up in the middle of the podcast. Sometimes there's just surprises that happen, but you probably won't see that once you get the final version, just so that you don't think Greg and I are crazy about who we were talking about earlier. That's all good. Greg, you have been an absolute treat. For those of you that want to learn more about what we're doing, please check us out at drsindyspeaks.com. or shoot us an email at hello@drsindyspeaks.com. We love to hear from our guests. On the website, you can subscribe to my Not So Daily Dose newsletter. We would love to have you as part of the community. We don't bombard you, and you are welcome to opt in or opt out at any time that you please. And also, please check out the book, Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag, on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. Make sure you also like and follow Greg wherever he is and whatever he is doing next, because he is a wealth of information and a great resource for all of us. I hope that today's podcast has left you positively altered.